So it's been a while. Um, the mice is like this. So it's Rosh Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon. So you know that the Ramah in Even Oezer, Simen Kuf Chavov, in Hilchas Gittin, he writes that Mar-Cheshvon Chad Vov, spelled with one Vov. The Pri Chodesh over there writes, Nire Shenikro Mar-Cheshvon Miloshen Hein Goyim Kemar Midli. There's a pasuk that uses the expression mar midli, which means a drop from a bucket. Al shem hagshomim, because it begins to rain in Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon. Ukede isa beperekama de tainis the yored b'Mar-Cheshvon. Ba'afal pikein nira lekoisvei b'teva achas. In spite of the fact that mar really means a drop, which is referring to rain. Nevertheless, Mar-Cheshvon is one word. So first of all, the thing about Mar, I just want to mention that it appears also the Mishnah in Baba Basra Daf Nun Ches uses the expression Marzev, which means a gutter, and the Rashbam says HaMarzev, the Loshen Marzev Tipo Shel Mayim Zov Derech Shom. Mar Zov. Kediksev Mar Midli Loshen Tipa. Now over there it's Avada Pashut that it's one word, because Mar Zov, it's the pipe is something through which the Mar is Zov, and that's the name. But in our case, l'chara, we would say that it's two words. The Pri Chodesh doesn't explain why does he say Afal Pikein Nira Lekoisvoi B'Teva Achas. It's interesting that the Sefer Get Pashut over there in Siman Kuf Chavav, he says that if you wrote Mar-Cheshvon in two words, Hadover Sofek Imhu Kosher, and he says Vafilim Timtzeloi Mashiyesh Lahachshir Mikol Mokim Im Kosvoi B'Shnei Shitin. If the Mar and the Cheshvon are not on the same line, Yesh Lehistapiku Im Kosher. So what's interesting is that he says over there further that if you wrote in a get, Liyerach Menachem, instead of writing of, you wrote Menachem. He says nearly the kosher, given the Hadavar Mefursim, the Chodesh of, Karu Le Chodesh Menachem. The Chein Adim B'Mar-Cheshvon, Im Kosav Cheshvon, kosher b'di'evet. So I really can't wrap my brains around the fact that he's mesupik if you wrote Mar-Cheshvon in two words of his kosher, and if you wrote just Cheshvon, he says it's kosher because it's Hadavar Mefursim. And so just like if you wrote Menachem instead of. So it's hard to understand what's behind this. In any case, in the Sefer Nachlas Shiva, which is a classic work on the names of the months and the places and people in the context of shtaros, mainly in Hilchas Gittin, he says Mar-Cheshvon Chad Teva. He was a Talmud of the Taz, so he writes that Mar-Cheshvon Chad Teva Ubechad Vov. So it's one word. V'hu gadli v'shamati. It's been told to me. Shenimtze kosov b'sefer. That in a sefer it's written that Mar-Cheshvon mishum shemichodesh Cheshvon nechshav hakvius. The year is defined in Chodesh Cheshvon, in the kvius of the Shana, as I'll explain to you in a minute. V'lachein le'inyin zeh hu roish l'chol hachadoshim v'lachein nikra Mar. Mar is a lotion of adnus, a lotion of srora. Omar Mar. So Mar Zutra. So it's called Mar-Cheshvon because it's the Rosh L'chol HaChadoshim L'Inyan Zeh. V'kashya says the Nachla Shiva L'fi Zeh Havelon Lichtav Mar-Cheshvon Shtei Tevois V'loi Ra'isi came B'Shum Mokoim, and he brings from the Yoitzer of Yom Rishon Shel Pesach and from the Gemara Rosh Hashanah and from the Targum Yonason in our Parsha Zayin Yud Aleph, and everywhere it says Mar-Cheshvon in one word. V'oid the hakvius loy becheshvon levad talya ragam bekislev. So what is he talking about? So the Tur In Orachayim, Siman Tov Chav Ches says, Mar-Cheshvon v'Kislev are the only 2 months of the year that Pa'omim Shnehem Meleim, sometimes they're Chadoshim Meleim, Upa'omim Chaserim, Upa'omim Shnehem Chaserim, Upa'omim Mar-Cheshvon Chaser v'Kislev Molei, Ukshiyu Shnehem Meleim Nikreis Hashona Shlema, Ukshiyu Shnehem Chaserim Nikreis Shona Chasera, Ukshiyu Echad Molei ve'Echad Chaser Nikreis Kisidra. So this is where it comes from, the idea that Cheshvan is the Rosh of the Kvius of the Shona. But Nachal Shiva is saying that it really depends on both Cheshvan and Kislev, whether it's going to be a Shona Chasera, a Shona Malaya, or a Chodesh, or a Shona Kisidra. So he doesn't understand Bechlal why that Sefer wrote that Cheshvan is the Rosh Le'inyan Kvius Hashona. So he says, and he says, and really, it all depends on Rosh Hashanah, because the Gam b'Cheshvan b'Kislev like Tal Yakvius, the whole Yadinin Akvius, Cheshvan b'Kislev Shleimim or Chaserim or Kisidram, Rak mi Rosh Hashanah the High Shate, v'Rosh Hashanah she'ovar, v'Kamo Yomim bein Rosh Hashanah l'Rosh Hashanah, as it's all mavur in the Torah. He says, V'imkein havalon l'meimer Mar Tishrei. Okay, so this is still not enough for him to dismiss this idea. And he is, v'yodua shegam b'yimei ha'amoyroim hoyu mekachim al pioriya. And he brings a few rayas. And nevertheless, in the Gemara, it appears as Mar-Cheshvon. And since they were mekadosh al pioriya, it wasn't relevant. You couldn't say that Cheshvan is the Rosh of the Kviyus. V'oid, ike braises tuve. The Tanya Yored be Mar-Cheshvon. Shmami no shigam b'mei atanoim, they called it Mar-Cheshvon, even though they were for sure mekadosh al pioriya. L'chein tzorich loyma the ein tam zeh ke'ikir. Rak hu shem ha'etzem. V'chein benusach hasmag mitoifes shebyichil mi Paris kosuv Mar-Cheshvon teva achas. So you see that he holds that if it would be Mar Miloshin Adnus Usrora, that it's a Rosh L'Kol HaChadoshim, then the Mar-Cheshvon should be spelled in 2 words, and therefore he attacks this approach from the many rayas that he has, and therefore his maskana is that Mar-Cheshvon is the Shem HaEtzem. It's not a Shem HaToyar, and therefore it should be written in 1 word. L'chor, it would be possible that even if we call it Mar-Cheshvon because the Rosh L'Kol HaChadoshim, Le'inyan Akvius, but it could be that for that reason we gave it a name Mar-Cheshvon as one name, as 1 word. I mean, why is it so pashut to him that if Mar-Cheshvon is a Lashon Adnus Usrora, then it's 2 words? But the Pshat L'chor is pashut because the Shemois HaChadoshim, the Yerushalmi tells us in Rosh Hashanah, Olu biyodam mi Bavel. So even if we'll say that the Babylonians were minor Lavana, but they for sure weren't Masada the Chadoshim according to our klolim of the klolim of our Luach. So Al Korchoch, that the name that we brought from Bavel was Cheshvan. If the Mar is based on the Rosh of the Kviyus, and we added the Mar because it's the Rosh HaChadoshim Le'in Kviyus, and therefore the Nachal Shiva is saying that Lefisa, it's not part of the Shem HaEtzem. It's a Tosefes to describe this Chodesh, and therefore Avad would be an independent word. Okay, but I just want to say that the Pri Chodosh, in spite of the fact that he held that Mar is Miloshin Kemar Midli, based on the fact that it's the beginning of the rain, but he says Afal became near Lekoisvoi Beteva Achas. So really it's a Shem HaToyar, but we nevertheless made it into part of the Shem HaEtzem of the Chodesh. According to him also, the Shem was Olami Bovel, and that was just Cheshvan. So the Mar, in the sense of a tipa, I mean, it's a word in Lashon HaKodesh. So probably in Bavel, it wasn't called Mar-Cheshvon. But he must hold that nevertheless, when we started being Mekadesh al Piha, when we took on this name, we began to call it Mar-Cheshvon because of the rain, and we made it into the Shema Etzem of the month. So really, the taina of the Nachlas Shiva only is that we know that it was called so even in the Zman that they were Mekadesh al Pi Hariya, and therefore it can be that the reason for this name is because it's a Rosh L'Kol HaChadoshim. In any case, all these Gedolei Olam held that Mar-Cheshvon is one word, and that's how it should be written in a get. But it's interesting that if you look at them in Hogei, Yehillas Kodesh Varmaize, written by Rabbi Yosef Shamish, in Ois Kuf Tzadik Vav, he writes Mevorchen Rosh Chodesh Cheshvon, V'oimrim Cheshvon, V'ein Oimrim Mar-Cheshvon. So you see that they held that the Brises and the Gemara that call it Mar-Cheshvon, that's not the Shema Etzem. And the Shema Etzem is really Cheshvon. And L'choreh and Aget, they also wrote Cheshvon and not Mar-Cheshvon. Anyway, there's an interesting thing. There's a Sefer Kemach Soilas, written by Rabbi Yehuda Reb Moshe Ali, published in Saloniki, Tov Kuf Nun Ches. And the Sdei Chemed references it in the Asefas Dinim, Ma'areches Chosim V'Kala, Ois Chav Gimel. He writes B'zeh Aloshin, Tam shekoirin l'choidish zeh Mar-Cheshvon, hu al shem tipas geshomim sheyored. Mar miloshin hein goyim kemar. Yesh oimrim al shem she'ein bo yomtiv. L'chein koirin oisei Mar-Cheshvon. In other words, it's a bitter month because it's a month that has no yomtiv. V'yesh oimrim al shem she'boy meisa rochel. K'may she'amru Rabbi Yisrael Zechronim Levrach. And that's why in the Sefer Kemach Soilis, which is really a Sefer of Halachis, he writes, L'chein kil yoisai yisruni lichtov b'choidish zeh kol dinei aninas v'avelus. Ma shelokateti misifra shel tzadikim kamoyu basroi. Ad mokem sheyodi yad keyam agas. So now the Sdei Chemed brings that there were places where they had a minig not to be maimed a chuppah in choidish Mar-Cheshvon, because it's considered a chodesh mar, a bitter month, miloshin merirus, because it doesn't have any yontiv as opposed to all the other chadoshim, because even Tammuz has at least the Shiva Asa B'Tammuz, which will be nefach liyomtiv, and Ov has, besides for Chamisha Asa B'Ov, it has also Tisha B'Ov that's going to be nefach liyomim toivim. In all the months there's a yontiv, but Mar-Cheshvon has no yontiv, and therefore it's a chodesh mar. So it comes out that this month, has opposite sides to it. On one hand, it's mar in the sense of srora and adnus. It's a rosh for the kvir sachadoshim, and it's also mar miloshin kemar midli, which is the time of the yoire, the revir rishoina of Geshem, which is really necessary for everything. And on the other hand, it's mar in the sense of mirirus and sar, that it has no yontif. So avada, it's not for naught that we find these two, this dover v'hipuchoi, these two opposites in Chodesh Cheshvan. It's interesting that Tosfos and Sanhedrin Daf Samach Daled in the Dibur HaMaschil Markulis says Omer Rabbeinu Tam Kilus Shema, that the Avodah Zarah was called Kilus, a lotion of praise, lotion Shevach. Elo shechachamim kinu oisa lignai, v'karuhu kulis miloshen lag v'keles, umar lotion chiluf. Why is it mar kulis? Because the kulis is the chiluf of the kilus. Yes, so mar is a lotion of chiluf. Kemoi b'mar de shchuta and chulin daf tzadik daled, b'mar de parzela, b'avakame, b'mar de chanse, and b'chor, it's koloim achiluf, kilus, sheichlifu shmo. So Lefiza really in the mar itself, we have a remes for the chiluf that we have in this chodesh Mar-Cheshvon from merirus to srora and to bracha. It's also interesting that it's mekubal from the mekubalim. It appears in the Pardes Rimonim of the Ramak that there are 12 different sirufim of the Shem Havaya that come out of various psukim, and they every month has its tziruf of the Shem Havaya. The tziruf of Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon is from the psukim Udvash Hayoim Hazeh Hashem, which also reflects his hapchus from bitter to sweet. So all this needs to be explained. This month also has a name in Lashon Kodesh, as in Malachim Aleph, Kapitel Vav, it says, "B'shana ha'achas esrei b'yerach bul hu ha'chodesh hashmini kol ha'bayis l'chol dvorav." Shlomo HaMelech completed the building of the Beis HaMikdash in Yerach Bul. Nevertheless, the Chanukah was the next year in Yerach HaIsanim, in Chodesh Tishrei. But he completed the building of the Mikdash in Yerach Bul. So what is Yerach Bul? Rashi says, Hu Mar-Cheshvon, Esev Bola Basoda. The Esev disintegrates rats in this month. Uboilel in the behema min abayis, miloshen vayovel lechamorim. Rashi says over there in Shoftim, that's a pasuk in Shoftim. Rashi says over there, vayovel lechamorim vayitein yevul lechamorim. So yevul is shaykh to the shorish of bull, and in this context, I'm going to tell you what it says in the Ksava HaKabbalah in Parshas Bechukoisai on the pasuk v'nosna ha'oretz yevula. He says Shem Bola Yoira ala hefsid hagomer, something that's totally disintegrated. V'nivne mimenu Shem Mabul v'hu choymer mayim rabim hamavale u'markiv hakoil k'moy mei Mabul. V'chein Shem Nevela lo yisoichlu kol Nevela v'hu gamkein miloshen bilui v'ri kovoin. V'chein Shem Tevel, we call the universe Tevel. He says hamoire al ha'olam ha'shofel k'mo yoshvei Tevel v'hu ha'olam hagarmi v'nikre Tevel al shem shu olul el ha'bilui v'ha'hefsid b'teva. It's on the way to disintegrate everything that's in this world. Masha'en kein ha'olam ha'ruchani shekayom bo'ish ve'enoi miskalkol v'nifsad rak b'ritzoyin ha'boire b'yichud. That's not called Tevel. V'chein Shem Yevul hu lechlal ha'priya nizra al shem ha'bilui v'harikovoin she'ein hazer ha'koileit u'matzmiach ad she'yivle tchila kenoida v'nikre chodesh Cheshvon bul al shem shebo yizbalu v'yirkevu tzimchei asoda v'chein Shem Yabeles, which is a wart, v'hu mean bilui v'rikovoin ba'or ha'bosar. Yeah, there's also, there's a Rashi in Yeshaya, Kapitel Mem Daled, where it says, Lebul eitz esgoid. Rashi says that bul eitz means l'rikovoin eitz. So you see that the name of this month in Lashon Kodesh has a meaning of rotting and the lack of chiyus, the lack of vitality. But on the other hand, it's a rotting that brings on growth through the Gishmei Bracha that come down in this month. You know that in Gittin Daf Lamed Vav, the Gemara discusses the root of the name Prusbul. And Rav Chisda says, Prois Buti, Buli Ubuti. It's a takana for the Buli and the Buti. Buli Elu Ashirim. Diksiv v'shavarti ga'oin uschem. V'toni Rav Yosef elu bulois shebe Yehuda. So the price bul elu ashirim, buti elu aniyim. Diksiv have tavitenu. So that's why buti is a ani, have tavitenu. And the takonis prosbul is good both for the ashirim and for the aniyim. But now we know how the Ashirim are merumas in the price bull, but where is the buti? I mean, how are the aniyim included in this word? The Marshal already discusses this in the Chidushei Agodos. The Rashash says that Gamo aniyim nirmezu bebul, the prose bull, because bull means rotting and disintegrating. V'hu toyar no ois la'oni. So you see that bull has also two opposite meanings. On one hand, it represents strength and ashirus, and on the other hand, it represents rotting and anius. So I say that these two meanings are really shaykh also to the Yerach bull, which is the Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon, which is also a lashon of merirus, and also a lashon of adnos. So what does all this mean? You know that they bring, the Yismach Yisrael brings it in Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, the name of the Kozhnitzer Magid, that this month is called Mar-Cheshvon because hatfilos mihayomim noiroim misrachshin oid bisvasa the Yisrael, that the tefillos of the Yom Noiroim are still murmuring, so to speak, in the lips of the Yidden. So, I mean, what value is there for such a rachash? Ad kidei kach that the month should be named after this. But you know, probably this is based on the Braisa Masechtas Megillah that says that Hamispalel Yishhe Kedei Hiluch Dalid Amis Umashtin. And why does he have to wait Kedei Hiluch Dalid Amis? So Rav Ashi says, Shekol Dalid Amis Tfiloso Izdura Befiv V'Rechushe Merachshon Sifvose. So we see that even though he already stopped davening, Navada, he's not davening with kavana, and his tefillah is only zdura befiv, in a way of rechushi, merachshi, svasayu. Nevertheless, it has kedusha, and that's mechayev him lishhois kedei hiluch daled amis umashtin. So the same is true about Chodesh Cheshvan, that it still has some residual kedusha from the Chodesh Hashvi mikoyach the rechushe merachshon sifsoiseinu, the tefillos of the Yom Noiron. So in this context, I want to read to you the lashon of the Sefer Beis Elokim from the Mabit in the Shara Tefillah Perek Gimel, that's discussing the importance of dibur in tefillah. And he says like this: V'loi tishlam hakavona ka'oigin bilti adibur. A person's machshava, his kavona, will not be complete unless he verbalizes the tefillah. V'lachein amru hirur lav kedibur dam. Okay. V'gam kain yoyel hadibur la'amei haaretz habilti mivinim hashoimrim. V'im loy hoyo hadibur loy hoyo yoytzi midei tefillah klal. Because they don't know what they're saying. V'afilu hamevinim, even those that understand the words, efshe sheyuchlu lechaven b'chol eishim espalulin. This is what the Mabit is writing. So, and that's why the dibur is important, because even without kavana, you davened. And now he says, "V'lachein anu oimrim b'soif brachis ha'imtsoyo shma koilenu Hashem Elokeinu ki gam sheloi kivanu karoi b'tfiloseinu." Even if we didn't have the proper kavana, sheyishma koil tfiloseinu, we should hear the sound of our tefillah. Ki gam ki akoil hu b'li kavana. Ubechasima anu oimrim ki ata shomea tfilas kol peh. Keloimar. Afilu hatfilah shiman asofa v'lachutz. She'eina b'kavana. Ata shomea oisa al yidei rachamecha harabi. Kivin she'einam yoidim l'chavim bo. K'mo shekosov shomea tefillah odecho kol bosor yovoyu. Ki mitzad she'u shomea kol tefillah gam b'li kavana. Odov kol bosor yovoyu. Oisam she'em kroivim l'choimer min hatzura. V'hei mechunim bosor. Yovoyu odov tefilosam. So you see that the Rachash of the Sfasayim, even without Kavanah, has a status of tefillah to an extent. Odecha kol basar yavoyu. Now, in the Sefer HaChaim, from Reb Chaim in Friedenberg, in the Shar Slicha u'Mechila Perek Ches, he writes B'zeh Loshen, V'chein David HaMelech, L'soif Kuf Mem Hei Mizmorim. After he already said Kuf Mem Hei Mizmorim, 145 Mizmorim, Ama Tehilas Hashem Yidaber Pi. Diber Pi Loi Nema, Rak Yidaber Pi. Ki ilu Achshav Roitze Lahaschil Uledaber. Ki Kol HaShevach V'Haroimemus Ka'ayin Ke'efes u'ka'ayin neged gedulos Yisbarach. That's number one. Number two, Gam Hoira David sheloi niskaven behem kavana reuya. V'zehu yedaber pi ki ilu lo hoya kan rak dibur peh abo min hasofa v'lachutz v'afo bikeinu shemei tfilas kol peh elo she'ein kol kach schar lepu'ulosai. V'zehu shekosav anitzak al Hashem v'goymer v'yishma Hashem es koileinu lahagid she'af al pi she'tfilaseinu eino rak tzakas koil ba'alme be'irbuv שזה מקדים וזה מאחי, אפילו הוכי לא ימאס תפילס רבים, במוקם שיש הסייפס הסורו שנקראו עדו, ולזה רום, אז גם כן הנובי, והיא להם מקדש מעט, כלוי מאף על פי שאינו רק קדושה מעט, לפי שאין נויגים בוי קרו, אף על פי כן איה מוצרי להם. So it's interesting that these two gedolei olam that didn't know each other bechlal, they say kemat mila b'mila, the same thing. But it's hard for us to understand how is it really possible that just talking the words of tefillah without kavanah has value. In the Mabit, it's Yitochem that he's talking only about somebody that tried to the best of his abilities to have kavanah and he didn't succeed. But in the Sefer Chaim. But even that we don't understand Lamaisa because in the end of the day he didn't have kavanah. In the Sefer Chaim, there's no emphasis on the effort. So what is it about? But the truth of the matter is, Mustama, that our stomach is Lishmo. And Aldas Rishona, we're mashkimim umarivim bebote knesis bebote midrashes to do God's will. So therefore, even if the Sa'or Shabbeisa and the Shibud Malchias hold us back from being Mekayim, but Hashem, it's Yokar B'nei Hashem, even the Ma'at Sheba'Ma'at, and we shouldn't be mezalzel in the value of our tefillah, regardless of what it is. And Avada, we should be mishtadel, but it's important also to remember what the Chovos Halevavos writes in the Shar Cheshbon HaNefesh. Va'al timat be'inecha, shum toiva shetasena l'shmoi. Don't belittle anything good that you do, l'shem shamayim. Afilu b'mila oy b'riya, ki ha'ma'at mimcha rav etzloi. You might consider it small and meaningless, but it's huge in the Rebbeinu Shalom's eyes. And there's also a mashal that they bring from the Maggid of Mezrich, that a king is mishta'asheya. He takes pleasure when they bring him a tzipor hamidaberes, a parakeet that was taught to talk. He says, but all the sorei va'avdei hamelech talk. So what's so exciting about the parakeet? So he says that what's exciting is the chiddush. It's a chiddush and it's a pella, right? So I just heard that Chazal say im rishonim k'malochim, anu k'bnei yodam, im rishonim k'bnei yodam, anu k'chamorim. So lefi zeh, the revusa and the chiddush and the pella that we actually talk, the davening, is a much greater chiddush and pella and revusa than the Doros HaRishonim that are compared to Malachim. And Memela, we should understand that what we do brings the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachol and Nachas Ruach. And just like the generations in the Seder HaDoros, we're going downwards. And nevertheless, the bit that we can do, we can transform the liability into an asset. So it's also in the Seder of every year. In the Chodesh Hashvi, that the Medrash says in Parshas Emor, it's muzba, b'mitzvahs, it's satiated with mitzvahs. We're zoichet to an asarusa de le'elo, Hashem oiri v'yishi, ba'or panecha yahalechon on Yom Kippur, we're doimim l'malachei ashoris. During Sukkot, we sit in the Tzila de Mahemnusa, but Tzila de Kudish Shabarichu U'Shchinte. And even in Golus, we're Mekayim, at least in an oifen of Zeichel Amigdash, the mitzvah was smachtem l'fnei Hashem Eloikeichem Shivas Yomim. You know, the Maril writes in Ilchot Sukkot that every day they were makiv the Mizbeach, Pam Achas. Ba'achshav ha'chazan oimed kemalach Hashem tzvokois. V'sefer Torah b'yodei v'a'am makifin oisei dugmas ha'Mizbeach. So in a certain sense, during the Yerach HaRisonim, we're doimim to the Rishonim Kemalachim. But when the holy days are over, we're like Bnei Odom. So when the Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon, that has no yontiv at all, comes, we experience bitterness, the bitterness of a richuk mi'al shulchan avinu. And we feel like the grass that's bolov and nirkav in the Yerach Bull. But nevertheless, we should know that Dafke, in this time, is miskayim the kasha yereid hageshem va'asheleg min hashamayim v'shama lo yoshuv ki im hirva es haaretz v'hoili dov v'hitzmicha. It's a mar miloshen mar midli, and the rechushim merachshem sifsoisenu in a matz with a lack of life and vitality, that transforms the bitterness into sweetness, and as it's merumas in the tziruf of udvash hayoim. So the mar is moire on chiluf, and as Taisa says in Sanhedrin, and the mar becomes a lotion of adnus usrora. It's the rosh of the kviyus hashana, and we find ashirus b'makim aniyus when in the Yerech Bull the rikovain and the aniyus become the yesod of the ashirus buloy sheb Yehuda. You know that in Sefer Yetzirah it says, as far as this month is concerned, Himlich ois nun bereach. Okay, you know this is Hanistoris Lashem Alekeinu. We have no clue what it's about, but nevertheless, we can still say something. The Gemara says in Brachas Dav Daled, Amar Rabbi Yochanan mipnei ma loy nemar nun ba'ashrei, mipnei sheyesh bo ma poloson shel soynei Yisrael. In other words, nun is a lotion of nafila. The ksiv naflo lo yisoisif kum besulas Yisrael. So the ois nun is about nafila. So lefizeh could be that's the shaykhis to this month, because we fall from the madrega of the Chodesh Hashvi, and we start to disintegrate like the tzemach hasoda. And that's why this is also connected with the Indian of Reach, because you know, the Goyen writes in Shir Hashirim on the pasuk L'Reach Shmonecha Toivim Shem and Turak Shemecha Al Kein Alomois Ahivucha. He says Alomois Hein Oivdei Kechovim Umazolos V'nikroin Alomois She Alomois Hein Apnuyois She'ein Lohem Ba'olim Ukemoi Kein Umois She'yashlichu Ish Elilei Kaspam V'chulei V'noaru Achrei Elokei Yisrael U'ma she'amar L'Reach Neisha hareach hu be'etzem dak u'merichin oisei meirochik. V'lochen gam harechoikim ne'enim mizeh v'nimshachim acharei choy ha'orif. That's what the Goyen says. So, Lefizeh, in this month, when we're no longer in the Chodesh Hashvi, when we're satiated with Yomim Tovim, as the Medrash says, we don't have the time anymore, but the reach is still here. And that's al derech the birchas hapsomim b'motzei Shabbos in the time of Vayinofash Vay Ovda Nefesh. We lost the soul, we lost the neshama yisera, but that's miyashev da'atenu hadoy eves, as the Rashbam says in Bava Basra Daf Kuf Beis, because you know reach, even if the ikir is not here, the reach can still be kayom, and it's hoylech l'meirochik. So therefore, when we leave the Yerech HaYisonim and we enter into the Chodesh Bull, is himlich ois nun bereach. Now, in the Psikta Rabbosi, that's brought in the Yalkut Shimoini and Melochim Remes Kuf Pei Dalid, it's mavur that really, since Shlomo HaMelech completed the Mikdash in Chodesh Bull, but he nevertheless, the Chanukas HaMikdash was nidche to Yerech HaYisonim of the next year. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Chodesh Cheshvan that he will repay the Choiv. Just like the Mishkan was completed in Kislev and the Chanukah was in Nisan, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised to repay Chodesh Kislev, and that was Chanukah. But the Sikta doesn't explain how is Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon going to be repaid. But in the Bnei Yissaschar, in his first Maimer on Mar-Cheshvon, he says that means that the Chanukas Habayis Hashlishi is going to be in Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon. So really, if you understand that the Bayis Hashlishi is really the represents all the avodah that Klal Yisrael did b'meshech Yimei Agolus. So it's only right that the Chanukah is in this Yerech Bull, which represents the upside of the downside, the Maila of our avodah in the Yimei Agolus, even though even though we lack the inspiration and we lack the motivation and we push ourselves and we do, that's why the Chanukas Habayis Hashlishi will be in Chodesh Mar-Cheshvon. Okay, having said that, I think it'll be enough for now. And I wish you all a good Shabbos.